There's also the fact that I think the most important player on this team for this team's future is Jarred Kelenic, and he continues in a skid that's now pushing 30 at-bats without a hit, and he struck out 3 times last night.
What do you do at this point? Because you've moved him from the leadoff spot back in the order. It's early. I suppose you could continue to let this play out, maybe let him fight his way out of it. But at a certain point, when you start to look lost, that's when you wonder about putting the training wheels back on. And Danny, he's looked lost the last couple of nights.
I've been fairly firm about don't mess with him. I wouldn't have moved him out of the leadoff spot.
It's okay. You can change your mind.
I would have resisted any suggestion that he be sent down. At the very least, give him this entire road trip, which is 10 games. Last night after that third strikeout, there were two observations that had me rethink that. The first one was that I was thinking to myself, well, he battled to a full count in each of his 5 at-bats.
Man, you do this so much, though, right? I mean, you would be, I think,
Captain Hard Contact. I love talking about hard contact.
You'd be a very understanding dad. you are always finding the bright, whether it's Evan White.
He fought his way to a full count on both of those. He hasn't got, because I don't believe in rushing or making snap judgments and letting things work themselves out. But that search for a silver lining, going to the point that I was complimenting him for getting to a full count in a game in which he struck out 3 times, and then that last strikeout. He struck out, and Claudio's not an easy dude for left-handers to face. He's tall and lanky. He throws at a weird angle. He's got a funky little delivery. But Kelenic was so fooled on that third strike. It swung at an inside curveball, and then he reacted with 3 straight expletives, which I understand. But if you're looking for frustration and worried about that, I think you're probably seeing it. So for the first time, I was like, yeah, maybe you should send him down.
If they send him down now, what happens?
Hopefully he hits the cover off the ball like Taylor Trammell did.
That happens by default,
hopefully he
right?
gets down there and just starts clobbering the baseball and kind of works his way through it. It's not a death sentence on his trajectory as a major league player at all. There's not any sort of worry about that. If he'll work his way out of it at the major league level, well, that would be desirable because he is going to have to learn and be able to get out of slumps like this when things aren't going well.
At some point, he's going to have to figure out a way to win at this level. But when it's not happening, it's not the end of the world to send the guy down. Even though I would be frustrated and bummed out. I mean, I've been the guy who's been annoying Jerry DiPoto every single Thursday since we started doing this show about bringing him up to the major leagues. I guess if you look at, Danny, for precedent's sake, some other past superstars and their first forays into the major leagues, I thought of 2. First off, Alex Rodriguez, who was 18 when you first brought him up. You brought him up for 17 games in 1994. You sent him down. He doesn't come back up again until 1995. He finishes the season 96. He's awesome. I don't know that you're going to go about it that way, especially with the way that the team's set up. I mean, shoot, with all the injuries they have, Kelenic might not be able to go down back to the minors with the way things have been going. But then you also have Mike Trout, called up in July of 2011. He only played 14 games, and then he got sent down. And he was down for 3 weeks, and he came back up again. I want to play some audio from yesterday from Jerry DiPoto on the Jerry DiPoto Show, though, Danny, because he was saying some of the same things that you have been saying about him, because you are seeing walks. And the strikeout rate has been something that, at least for DiPoto, was acceptable. Here's Jerry talking about Jarred yesterday.
You know, and anything's possible as it's necessary, but I will say this about JK. He's not going to bat at 120 for the year. He's much better than that on a skill level. And, you know, it's unfortunate. I think prior to this homestand, especially the series with the A's, Jarred's at bats and really good. And he's hitting the ball hard and he's doing all the right things. And if you would have told me that, you know, 2.5 weeks into his major league career, he was going to have a 9% walk rate and a 25% strikeout rate, I'd say sign me up. This is going to go really well.
That doesn't sound like a guy who's close to thinking about what we're suggesting this morning, right?
If you're a general manager, though, it's kind of like benching your star quarterback or changing quarterbacks. You don't say you're going to do it until you're doing it. You don't get close to doing that. You either are fully in or you're fully switching it. So I don't read much into that. The frustration part of it is what I'm looking at. And and you're watching to see if the strikeouts spike. And you're really watching to see if the strikeouts spike. And he drew a walk last night, and he struck out 3 times. And here's sort of the I don't want to say it's the contrast or it's the trouble. Looking at Jarred Kelenic is not the story of this Mariners season, and it's not the story of the Mariners game last night. And that's, in some ways, what makes it a challenge to sort of really follow what matters and what's going on, because there is a team that's playing pretty good or average Major League Baseball in a year where no American League teams have run away with it. And I guess it's just the odd reality that they find themselves in. Instead of this morning talking about Justice Sheffield and how he settled it down.
3 strikeouts against Shohei.
He gave up a couple early home runs, really settled in, finished through 5 innings. The bullpen did its job. Jake Fraley, who, if you want to look at someone, he had a terrible spring training, and he continues to have this ability to draw an inordinate number of walks.
The bearded god of walks.
And he also clobbered a baseball for a 3-run homer after they got guys on. Kyle Seager with the most ill-advised, lucky stolen third base that you're ever going to see. And J.P. Crawford, who looks like he's distinguishing himself as a great fielding, decent stick shortstop who's now at the top of your lineup.
It's like all the middle children are doing pretty well, and you just can't help but focus on the baby.
Yeah, you're worried about him because you're like, hey, he came up and he's hitting up a couple levels, and are the big kids playing too rough? Are the big kids playing too rough with him?
Oh, no. I don't want to ever think that it's too rough for Jarred Kelenic with that confidence that he has. He strikes me as they know if he is the little kid that's going up to the playground to play with some guys older than him, that at the very least he's going to have the confidence to stick in that game, not fall down, not start crying or anything like that. But, man, yeah, right now it's
struck out 3 times each. He's struck out 3 times in his last 3 games.
Do you think they're getting worse every strikeout?
No, because he battled his way to a full count.
There it is. There it is.
No.